Hello everybody and welcome to our show. Today we have on Zoom a special guest. We have one of the most iconic athletes in our industry, 4 times Miss Olympia, Nicole Wilkins.
Yes.
Nicole, welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. And Linda, I know that you share a special connection with Nicole, right?
Yes, Nicole and I are both from Michigan. And when we won our Miss Olympia championships, we started our amateur career in Michigan, and so that's my home, and I know that's her home. I always call Michigan home. So when she won the Olympia Figure, I was so very proud because it's home, and it's just an excellent representative and a pioneer.
Absolutely. So Nicole, you did start back in Michigan, right?
Yeah, I did.
Would you like to?
At that time, there really wasn't a whole lot of, national level and pro competitors coming from Michigan. So, it was cool.
Yeah.
How long ago was that? When did you start?
My first show was actually in 2003, and then I competed living there through around 2012. 2013 was the first year I competed living from California.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you competed in was it the Western Michigan? I saw that, Western Michigan, yeah.
My first show, yeah.
Okay, and was that in Kalamazoo, Michigan? I'm just curious. I graduated from Western Michigan, so I'm not sure. I remember the Western Michigan. I competed in the Eastern Michigan. So where was the Western Michigan?
It was actually held in Grand Rapids.
It was in Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think they've since moved it, or I don't even know if it's still around anymore, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't.
So long ago, 20 years ago almost.
Right, amazing. Yeah, I know it's been a long haul. I was just like thinking about those shows, and when I think of Michigan, Michigan to me is. One of I'm going to say the foundation, like when I think about the sport, and I go all the way back to the mid 80s when I started. And then Nicole, you said your first show was in 2003.
Yeah.
Right? And so you were 19 or something like that when you first started?
Yep.
Wow.
What got you into basically starting lifting weights, into bodybuilding?
Well, I was a gymnast for most of my high school, and actually since I was 8 until I graduated high school, I did gymnastics. But I had a couple knee surgeries my freshman and sophomore year, which kind of sidelined me for any of the recruiting for collegiate gymnastics. And to be honest, at that point, I just really didn't love it as much as I needed to do it another 4 years or longer.
Right.
So through my rehab, I started doing a lot more weight training to keep myself strong, so that there was a potential that I could come back in gymnastics and keep my body, just make the recovery faster. But I noticed that I was getting stronger, and I was seeing more muscular development even at that young age. And I knew other girls who were in gymnastics that went into fitness, like Laura Mack. And I was following all the magazines at that time, and I thought, hey, well, if I don't do gymnastics in college, I'm going to need another goal to shoot for. So I'm going to go and just train for this local competition. So
right.
That's kind of how it worked. My freshman year in college was when I did my first show.
Yeah.
So you did start out as fitness, right? In a fitness division.
Yeah, because Figure was only a year old. It came out in 2002. And I had the gymnastics background, so that's what kind of made me decide to do fitness. And I did both for about 4 years until, actually longer than that. So 2003, it was my first show at the end of the year, and then 2004 through 2009, I did both.
Oh, so you went back and forth between figure and fitness?
Yeah, because at the amateur shows, you were able to cross over and do both categories at each competition. But as a pro, you can only do one or the other. So.
Yeah.
Wow.
So how did you turn pro? Did you turn pro as a figure or as a fitness?
So I turned pro in 2007 it was Figure Nationals and Team Universe at the same show.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I was going to just do fitness because 4 weeks prior I did the junior nationals and I got second place with the fall in my routine. So my coach at that time said, hey, you should cross over and do both. You're already doing fitness. Figure is pretty much the same thing without a routine. So let's just cross over, see what we can do. And I ended up winning both categories in my weight class and the overall, which had never been done before. And actually won't be done anymore because you can't cross over at any national show. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. I was not expecting that at all.
So you turned pro in both divisions.
Right.
Wow. It's
Yeah.
very impressive.
You can have two, literally, you know how people say, like, I got 3 pro cards. You can literally have 2 pro cards.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Yeah, I think everyone was like, who is this girl? And where did she come from? You know?
Wow.
I bet that was an awesome feeling, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because that was a large group. What, about 200 girls or so? I mean, when you go and compete, like on the national level, there are women now today, like 1,000. So very different from when I competed back in the mid 80s. Yeah, it was a full packed house.
With all the different categories they have available now, there's a lot more opportunities for women and men of all sizes to compete.
So as you were doing both divisions, Nicole, what did you feel that calls to you? What spoke more to your heart? Was it fitness or figure?
With the start of figure, the numbers in fitness were decreasing because obviously figure is easier. You don't have to do the routine or get another suit and learn the gymnastics movements and strength movements. So I was always encouraged to continue doing fitness just because there wasn't a whole lot more women, and to be a representative for that category was important. But I always did better in the figure division, and I actually felt more comfortable in the figure division. My routines were decent. I mean, they were good enough for me to do well and qualify for the Olympian fitness, but compared to the girls that I was going to compete against at the pro level, they just weren't up to par. I was competing with Jen Hendershot, who had like the best fitness routines in the world. So, Jen would go and then I would go and it just wasn't comparable.
Right.
So, I would always do better in the physique portion. And, once I won my first pro show as a figure athlete, that's what kind of solidified that direction. And I never did fitness again.
Which show was that?
I won figure at the Orlando Pro and the New York Pro the year I won my first figure Olympia.
Okay.
So that was your pro debut year, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
My pro debut year was 2008. I did the Arnold in fitness.
Okay.
Yeah.
You did the Arnold in fitness. You did fitness at the Arnolds. Wow.
As a pro debut, like, this is remarkable. Usually it takes a long time to compete, for the judges to see you, and it's an invitational show. Obviously, it's the top of the top, right, that gets there. So to be invited and do your pro debut at the Arnold, I think it's a remarkable achievement.
Yeah. I mean, growing up in Michigan, every year we would drive to Ohio.
That's right.
So for years and years before I got the opportunity to compete, I would always watch the pros on stage and say, I actually did say, I'm going to be up there one day, just watch.
I know. I know, Nicole, I can really relate to that,
Yeah.
Because it's like, what was it? It's like a 4-hour drive. And that was just the common thing. I remember when people talk about Arnold's show, I remember the show before the big expo. It was just at that venue. He had a few booths, and I'm not sure what it was like in 2007, but I definitely remember what it was like in the mid 80s.
Yeah, the funny part is I actually competed in gymnastics at the Arnold in 2002. So my senior year in high school, I competed as a gymnast at the Arnold, and I would walk around the expo, and I was intrigued by all of the females that were competing, and I went to the finals for fitness that night because Laura Mack was actually trained in gymnastics by my same coach. So all the women that a lot of ladies competing now have no idea who they are. So
I know Laura Mack. I remember Laura Mack and
Susie Curry.
Yes. Yes.
You do have 3 Arnold titles as well, right?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. It's very inspiring, you know, to know that you actually competed there on a sport that it was not part of the event itself. It was part of the festival, and then you really wanted to be there and compete, and you actually did it. Just a few years later, you kept on pushing for it, and then you achieved it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that is. That's very interesting to hear that you were there at the sports festival competing in gymnastics.
Right.
And that's what I love about the show in Columbus, is that it opens up the, how can I say, just sports, just like all different types of activities and karate, martial arts, and so that was awesome. But that didn't exist back in the 80s, and that's why I love what he's done with the in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. So Nicole, what was your first year when you won the Olympia?
2009.
2009. And how did that come? Because this was the second year you competed at the Olympia, correct?
Yeah. So the first Olympia I did was in 2008. So that year I did fitness at the Arnold and then figure at the Olympia. And then the second year is when I actually won my first pro show. And then I think it was that year that they changed the rules because before, in order to qualify for the Olympia, you had to place top 3.
Yeah.
And they changed it to having to win a pro show in order to qualify. So yeah, I ended up doing figure that year in 2009, and I ended up winning it. So.
This is awesome, Linda. Second year of competing in the Olympia, and you get the world title.
I know.
Isn't that fantastic?
Yep.
That's awesome. And then you went on to repeat it, right? 3 more times.
Yep. It was a bumpy road. It was definitely up and down for sure. So I won in 2009, then I got second in 2010, and then I won in 2011, second in 2012, and then I won it back for the third time, 2013 and 14. So those were the years that I won. But yeah, it was a lot of up and down for sure.
Wow. And you know, that's interesting because when I look at the years and you have that time between, I think it takes such great mental strength to be on the top, be the current champion, and then, you know, play the next year, play second, then have the courage and to get all of the, you know, what's going on in your head and in other people's opinions, and then come back and reclaim it. So that for me is really hard. I mean, I know when I did my consecutive Olympias, it's hard to come back. And you did that several times during that 4-year period.
Yeah, it's pretty rare to lose in Olympia and then win it again and then lose again and then win it back.
Right.
So, but honestly, I think the times that I lost, I was more motivated than ever before to come back and do even better. So it definitely lit a fire under my butt when I lost.
Did you feel at any point when you lost it in the second year, the third year you did it, after you got first, then you said you got second, did you feel at any moment down or discouraged, or you just got off the stage super motivated to get it back? What was going on internally? Yeah,
I mean, anytime you kind of get this vibe backstage when you're going to win the show, or you think that you're going to win the show, or you did really well at prejudging, you get this vibe that's much different than when you didn't do well at prejudging.
Yes.
And, there's a lot of like talk behind, and people almost don't want to make eye contact with you.
You know, Nicole, girl, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. But, when you do lose a title, it's devastating, of course. I mean, you don't want to have that happen. You train hard all year round to do your best. And if you know that you're capable of winning, when you don't do it, you're disappointed. And I think that you need to feel that disappointment, because it only just, for me, fueled my motivation to work even harder or do something differently. Like, I never really looked at those things as someone else's fault. It was always, okay, what do I need to do now to continue to not place second and get that title back? So
well,
mentality.
Yeah. And man, this conversation is great because I've lost the Olympia. I lost, sometimes I forget, but I really value my second place titles and learned so much from it. But the thing that at shows that I have to deal with is that the athletes, there's only going to be one winner, right? Usually one winner. And then if you didn't place first, then you're very discouraged. But at the same time, I always say to people, what are you going to do with that win? So they think that it's an easy road when you're the winner. So maybe you can shed some light on what it takes. Like after winning, there's a road you have to take, and it's a lot you have to go through, just as placing second or not or third.
The responsibilities
totally
of a champion, right?
Yeah, I can recall the first year that I won the Olympia. Everybody was on the forums, and it's the first time I ever experienced people not necessarily agreeing with what had happened. I was out there just doing my best and training my best to win the title, and it's in the judges' hands at that point. But yeah, you have an additional pressure to be that representative. You also put additional pressure on yourself. Like in my head, I was like, I can't do anything differently, because if I do something differently next year, I'm going to look totally different, and I might not win the title. So it does take, it does kind of play with your head a little bit. But yeah, you have to develop very strong inner strength to ignore people who may not necessarily have agreed with the placing, and know that you did everything you could, and that was your journey, and that was what was supposed to happen, and enjoy it. Like just do your best and continue to do your best. And that it is a different mentality though.
It is.
There's a little bit more pressure for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, as you were saying, that many times we rely on ourselves. So whenever something happens, let's say you got second, you always know, okay, internally, it's on me. Whatever I did, whatever I didn't do, it's on me. You look for the responsibility or for the cause of that placing inside you, as opposed to externally placing, let's say, a blame or other external factors who go on other people, the judges, all of those factors. And I feel like, in the same way, you stay strong and you push through it. And in that, when your core is strong, those people around talking bad or talking good don't actually get to your core, because that's where your strength is, right? So this way you manage to stay tall and strong and go through all your competitions and preparations and life as an athlete, right?
Yeah. Like you said, with losing, same thing. If you lose, which is part of the process, you're going to lose sometimes. You can't look at other people and other outside sources for the reason why that happened, because that's not taking responsibility for what you needed to do. Maybe you needed to do something a little bit better. Maybe you could have trained a little harder. Maybe you need a little bit longer. So I think that's another really good point. A lot of competitors do that. When they don't place as well as they hope they would, they automatically blame someone else or something else for the reason why that happened, and don't take enough responsibility for what they didn't do enough of.
I agree. I want to talk about the year when you came out, and it was mind-blowing. It was 2013, when you came in a completely different shape than what everybody was used to from you, right? So I remember I was competing at the Olympia. When I saw you, I was like, oh my God. I don't know what happened, but it was spectacular. What happened?
2012 was an interesting year. I had competed since 2003 without any breaks until that time.
Wow.
And I think that my body just kind of hit a wall. I was doing a lot of the same things every year, and it just wasn't working. I did the New York Pro that year, and I got third by the skin of my teeth. And it just really wasn't a look that I was proud of for myself, like knowing what my abilities were. And I had some of the judges and, some of the promoters and my coach and some of my sponsors basically saying in a nice way, hey, Nicole, if you don't change something, you may as well just move on, because if you go to the Olympia looking like you did today, you're not going to place. Like, you're not going to do well at all. It was a very straightforward. It was kind of like a holy cow I better do something different, or I'm not going to get that title back, because I had won it, in 2011. So I knew that I needed to do something completely different. So I started working with Hany at that time, Hany Rambod. Okay. And we literally overhauled everything, like my nutrition, my training, the entire structure of every prep that I had ever known was totally different. And it was harder than I think I had ever worked. And I thought I was a pretty hard worker before. So, Hany is definitely he does not take crap from anyone. So it was very straightforward with me, and I feel like I needed that at that time. So I was really excited to go to the Olympia in 2013, knowing that I was coming in with something different.
Definitely.
Which was necessary in order for me to catch the judge's eye again, and hopefully get that title back, which ended up happening.
You did, and you ended up looking harder, leaner, more conditioned. Your beautiful structure just popped out more because of all those changes you made, and everybody was talking about the definition on your legs and all the tightness in your package and everything, which actually to my eyes it's rendered as looking bigger, but you were not bigger, you were just more conditioned, right?
Right. Yeah, I actually was smaller. It's bodybuilding has that weird way where the leaner and the more muscular you are, the bigger you look, when in reality you're not that big at all. So yeah, that year like I said, I trained harder than I had ever done before, and it was a completely new look for me, and I was taking a risk because the judges could have either liked it, or they could have said, hey, Nicole, you're going a little bit too far in that direction. You're a little bit too lean for what we're looking for, too muscular. But it ended up working in my favor. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So were you in California at that time when you were preparing for this?
Yeah, that was the first year I was living in California.
Okay, yeah, curious about that. So, I think even that in itself, sometimes that can be a distraction, because I know I stayed in Michigan on purpose. The majority of my Miss Olympias, they wanted me to move out and relocate to Los Angeles, and it was just it was out of my comfort zone. I didn't want to fix something that wasn't broken. I was used to being, safe and secure at my home in Michigan, and my friends there, they knew me, but I didn't have to worry about walking in the gym and dealing with other interactions and haters or lovers or too much information. So that had to also be really challenging, to not only not be in Michigan, but to be in California.
Yeah, I think for me, it was one of the better decisions that I made at that time, because when I was in Michigan, I was married, I was working at our gym that we owned, and when we got divorced, I lived in a really tiny apartment, was working online and doing some traveling, and it was just, I didn't really have a whole lot of direction on where I was going to go. It was just kind of like, okay, this is kind of a weird point in my life, and I just needed more solid ground under me. And moving to California and training for the Olympia during that time, the weather is literally sunny every day.
Yes.
So before it would be like, well, can I run outside? I don't know. It's supposed to rain today.
Right.
So that was easier, and just a whole nother atmosphere, different trainer. Everything was just fresh and exciting again. So I think that had a positive effect on that year.
Wow, that's fantastic. So how about, I know that you got your next title in 2014 as well, right, at the Olympia, but then you kept on competing. When was the last Olympia you competed at?
Yeah, the last Olympia I did was 2017.
17. So you kept on going 15, 16, and 17, right?
Yeah.
And you got, how did you place these years?
So 2015 I got second, and then 2016 I got fourth, and 2017 I got fifth.
Okay, so
my positions were declining at that point. Yeah.
So you decided to hang up your heels and retire at that point?
Yeah, I felt in my heart that it was the right time. I had done 10 figure Olympias, which is more than any other figure athlete had done.
Consecutive.
Consecutive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. 10 consecutive.
That's impressive.
Right. Yeah. And it was at the point where I was having a harder time keeping up with the shapes that the girls were bringing and the muscularity that they were bringing, and I was ready to move on to the next chapter of my life. Like, I just felt in my gut, felt in my heart, it was the right time. You know, you don't want to ever be forced out in some ways, you know, where you feel like your placings are going to continue to decline no matter how hard you do or how hard you work. And being a 4-time champion, I wasn't happy with 5th place. I'm going to be honest. So not like I left feeling
defeated or like you did.
Yeah, it was just time.
Yeah.
But it was also, I know that we were talking about the way the sport is continuously changing, right? It's evolving. So what is your view on, I know that you were still watching what's happening there, and you know what's the nowadays scene in bodybuilding and fitness. What do you think of the direction that, you know, the sport in general and the figure class is going?
Look, I mean, you can't deny the amazing shapes that these girls bring, right? And they're only going to continue coming in the way that the judges are rewarding them to come in. And also, from the judges' perspective, they're only going to be able to judge who shows up on stage. I do think that, like, I would like if figure was a little bit less muscular and maybe a little bit, you know, a little bit softer. I'm a fan of muscle on women, of course.
Yes.
But for amateur competitors coming up, it's becoming less attainable in my eyes. And also, I think there needs to be a clear delineation between the figure division and the women's physique division. So, you know, that's kind of where I stand.
Yeah. You feel like the borders, feel like the borders between figure and physique start to cross a little bit?
Yeah. I don't think a figure athlete should have striations in their glutes or feathers in their quads. Like, it's a little much for me. That's you know,
I agree.
Being honest.
Yeah, I feel you on that. And I've noticed that too, because you know, you're the last person that I remember. I took a break from going to shows. All right, I was retired, and you always stood out in my mind as the perfect example of figure. Like,
Thank you.
And I really still feel that way, because it's a physique that women, it's athletic and it's strong, and I agree with you. When I look at a figure competitor and I feel that she could kick off her heels and literally go over into the physique division, then, you know, all she's doing that's different is she took off her heels. So, you know, I do agree with you. So
there are a couple of aspects involved from my perspective, you know, in this. First of all, it's the human body that's always evolving through training and everything, right? You cannot just hold back progression, and the evolution of muscle is normal.
Yes.
And then the second one is the fact that when you have a wonderful physique, a wonderful structure, beautiful genetics, and then you get on shape and you push the envelope a little bit more than what's been done so far, I think that result there's a combination of the beautiful lines and symmetry and aesthetics. When that body is so hard, it's really difficult for a judge. They have difficult jobs to actually say, no, this is too much. Because in the industry, I feel like the definition and the conditioning and the carving, deeper carving of your body and of your structure is spectacular. So when you come leaner and more muscular with a beautiful frame, that renders as more spectacular, right? So I understand they have a hard job.
yeah, they do.
Yeah, I think it's definitely difficult because for a lot of women, in order for their glutes to be tighter or their waist to come in more, they have to be leaner.
Yeah.
And that's why not everybody can win, right? But they were able to do it before. And I think that as an athlete, there are some things that you can do if you know that you're on the more muscular side to tone down how hard you're posing, or to manipulate your diet a little bit, or maybe lay off the heavy weights for a little bit to kind of minimize the growth of your physique, if that is the division you're trying to fit in. So, but if you love the evolution of your physique and you prefer the muscle on that, then go up a category.
Yeah,
So, I agree with you.
They go up a category. Yeah,
This is quite fortunate that the federation has developed all these divisions in between, so everybody can find their place.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Nicole, let us know what you're doing nowadays. What's Nicole Wilkins up to?
Well, after I retired, even before I retired, I was working on building my business. And I think that's something that if you are placing well in the pro division, you need to take advantage of the additional eyes that you're getting, grow your social media, utilize that for post competition, because that's going to be lasting you a whole lot longer than the stage will, or any sponsor that will pay you will. So that was my goal, is to establish myself as a businesswoman and an entrepreneur through the publicity that I got from competing. Mm-hmm. And that's what I really tried to focus on more after I was done, because I had more time to devote to it. And yeah, so I have 2 corporations now. The first one is we do online training. I have a team of trainers. We do virtual challenges. We have an online membership portal that we post new content to every week. We have different products available in the store. And then we also launched a sports nutrition line called Empower Nutrition. So yeah, that's been kind of our main focus here, like work-wise.
That is awesome. So if there was a message that you would send out to your fans, to your followers, there's a lot of them out there, something that's close to your heart that defines you. Would you like to share that with us?
I think that it's like, we talked a little bit about this before, and I do believe that life is short. And if there's something that you are thinking about, you want to pursue, but are nervous or fear is holding you back, you only have one chance to live your life, and you have one body and one opportunity sometimes to pursue those and to go for it. So if there's something that you really want to do, and like I said, fear is holding you back, don't let that hold you back, because you don't want to get older and wish you would have done it. You want to be 80 and say, dang, I wish I would have gotten on stage, or I wish I would have gotten that certification, or bought that house, or started that business, or whatever it is, or had the family. Or so yeah, just go for whatever you feel like is pulling at your heart.
Yeah. Be bold and eliminate all fear, right?
That's it.
Our life is short but beautiful, so we got to make the most out of it.
Absolutely, definitely.
Well, thank you so much, Nicole. It was an honor and a pleasure to have you here, and we really look forward to follow you on Instagram, on your social media. So guys, thank you so much for watching us. We had Nicole Wilkins, 4 times Miss Olympia, with us. Thank you again, and catch up in our next episode. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole. Bye.
Bye, guys.